So you're telling me 93.4% of people are fertilising their lawn wrong?
Absolutely. Lots of people fertilise their lawn and they end up with a thin, patchy mess, or worse, they end up burning their lawn.
So it's not just a matter of throwing it out there then?
You should know better. In today's video, we're going to give you an absolute step-by-step guide on how to fertilise your lawn properly.
Yep.
Everything from how to measure your lawn, how to work out how the application rate. We've bought a range of different spreaders off Amazon, the correct tools, so as you can put it onto your lawn. And we're going to show you a pro tip that I see so many people getting wrong, including so-called experts giving advice.
That's right, 94.3% of people out there get it wrong, so stick around to find out how the pros do it.
Hopefully my 30 years won't go to waste.
So our friends at Moja have partnered with us for this video. Fertilising is key. Too much, you burn it. Too little, it doesn't grow enough. So you need to get that just right, and that all comes down to getting the correct measurements. Let's go get those now.
So our first step is to measure the lawn. If you don't have anything, you could just use a tape measure.
Not going to get far with that one though. So first up, I'm going to be pacing out the lawn. So I've paced that out at my pace rate at about 10 by 13. So that's my pace. And we worked it out to be at around 140 centimetres per pace. So I worked out my pacing at 140 centimetres. So it was 10 paces by 13 paces. So we've got 10 times 140 gives me 14 metres. And then 13 by 40 gives me 18.2. So 18.2 times 14 gives us 254 metres squared.
0.8.
0.8.
Round that up to 255.
255, yeah. So as you can see, this garden is too big for a tape measure. But if that's all you've got, all you need to do is either use sticks like we've got or plant pots to mark your garden into quadrants, which is just a fancy word for squares, to get a more accurate measurement. I'm going to have a really good time measuring this garden. The next one, we have to do this the old-fashioned way with a bit of pen and paper because we're using the wheel. So for areas like this, we would usually go straight across. So the reason we leave that area in is because at the end it's easier just to calculate the size of that and minus that from the total area of the lawn. Now if you do have a lawn that's all sort of odd shapes, you'd have to break it down into quadrants, get all those measurements and then work it out later. But we've got a trick on how we could help you with that. Now the tip is, well, I think everybody knows of this software, it's ChatGPT. If you put the numbers into there and ask it to work it out for you, it should give you a relatively good answer, but always double check because you can never trust AI. This next method is good for the front lawn, but it has a few issues with the back lawn, and I'll show you that next. So just finished measuring up with Google Earth here, which is really handy, but I wonder how accurate it is. It's given us a perimeter of 51 metres and an area of 179 metres squared. But let's try and do the orchard, which isn't going to be so handy as it's covered in trees, but that's where the Moja will come into play. So as you've just seen with Google Maps, if there's tree coverage or if your garden's not on Google Maps just yet, if you've got a new house, you can't measure your garden with that method. That's where the Moja 2 Pro comes into its own. As this little thing, you can measure whatever it is you're measuring accurately every time. Let's go. Hit the little plus here to select what sort of area we're covering. We're going to go closed shape and it has connected. So now I need to go to the start and start measuring. So all I'm doing here is using the Moja to map the perimeter of the garden, and this will take into account all the random angles of the garden, so we don't have to do the maths ourselves. Moja does it all for us. It speeds up our day. So I've come back to my start point and I use that stick as a reference. I hit stop and it's given me area of the garden exactly. The perimeter is 50 meters and that's given us an area of 159.7 meters squared. Best thing about the Moja is that it's a one-off payment. Once you buy the device, that's it, and the app is free to download. And once you've got all your files saved on the app, you can easily share it to whoever needs it. So in a lawn like this, the Moja Pro 2 comes into its own. As you've seen with Google Earth, with the tree coverage, you can't get a good accurate measurement, where this really helps, especially with the shape of the lawn. It's quite irregular. If you're trying to pace that out or measure it with a wheel, that'll be a lot of maths, and that's something I don't want to do. So that's where this really comes into its own. As you can see here, it's plotted the perimeter for us. And if you notice, there's lots of triangles in there as well. That's because if I go into this next option here, it gives you a 3D view of all the highs and lows in your lawn. And when I say it takes the guesswork out of it, look at that there. Surface area exactly in meters squared, so we know exactly the right amount of product. Because could you imagine trying to work out that shape if you was pacing it? It'd be a lot harder to work out. So what do you think? Will the Moja 2 Pro save you time? Get in the comments and let me know. And if you want to pick one up, check the link in the description. I've got you a mixture of spreaders here, from cheap to high end. We actually brought most of these for this video. And if you want to help support the channel, the links will be in the description below.
Another spinner that we actually have two of these here. Now these are professional models and they're going to be outside most people's range. I'll give you a quick guide to this. So these are called SR2000s and they're roughly about £1,000 if you're in the UK. I believe if you're in America or Canada, they're a lot cheaper. Now they're stainless steel, and what really sets them apart is this gap or this flap at the side. Means that we're not putting fertiliser into flower beds in different places. But these are going to be out of most people's reach. Now I have to hold my hands up to something. I did also have a drop splitter. We can't find it for this test, which is very unfortunate, because I did a video in the past saying that I didn't like drop splitters for fertiliser, and I got a lot of stick about it, and this test would have been brilliant to show why I don't like it. But anyway, let's go and we'll get on with the video.
So as you can see, we've got a big roll of black plastic down. That's so we can calibrate these spinners without burning our own lawn. Plastic is 4 meters wide, and we've measured out 10 meters in 1 meter segments, so we can calibrate the spreader. This is our cheaper spreader here, and I've got a kilo of product here. I'm going to fill it up. So we've got this spreader set at number 3. First up, we're going to walk up slowly to see what rate it goes out at. A slow pace over 10 meters, and we had a kilo of product in. So let's go see how much is left. We've used 100 grams. So this plastic is 4 meters wide, and before the wind starts blowing away the fertiliser too much, you can see that it's given it quite an even coverage over the 10 meters. So that's 40 meters squared we've covered. So our first pass on number 3, it was give us 2.5 grams per meter squared. So we're going to open it to number 4 and do a slow pace again and see what we get. Number 5 setting at a slow pace, we used 500 grams of product, which works out about 12.5 grams per meter squared. So we've got the same settings, but I'm going to walk really quick this time. So what we found when we come to the end, we've always got a bit of products left sitting in the spinner. I did a quick pace there. Now I'm going to wait to see how much product we've used. So at the faster speed, we've used just over 200 grams of product, which is more than half of what we used on a slow rate. So that just goes to show, if you copy somebody else's settings on a spinner, it doesn't mean you're going to get the same rate as them, because they could have a different walking pace to you. So next up, we've got the Scots, and already before I put anything in it, it feels a lot smoother, feels more premium than the other spinner. We've got it open fully wide, just like the last one. So I'm going to put a kilo of product in there and do it at the slow rate, the same rate as I did the first one, and see if we get a similar sort of application rate.
3, 2, 1, go!
Go! I don't know if it came up well there, but I think it's thrown about the same distance. Let's have a look. A little bit of product left in it, just like the other ones. Probably something to do with the same design, style of design. But let's go away and see what we've got left. So at the same settings as the other spinner and my walking pace, I got 500 grams out of this, just like I did with the first one at the same walking pace. So I'm just filling up with another kilo of product, and then I'm going to do a fast-paced walk. So just be wary if you've got product left over that you don't want to dump it all in one location, because you could burn that bit of the lawn. A lot of people ask how you weigh your fertiliser for calibration. Way! I know, messing. We've got a set of scales. Used about half the amount, about 250 grams. So faster pace has used half the product. Next up, we've got the Einhell, I think that's how you pronounce it, battery powered spinner. It has quite a few different controls here. You can alter the speed in which it spins. And then this has more control of how wide you have the opening. And then we've got this here, which can also direct which way the fertiliser throws out. But we'll keep it fully open. We'll have it on a similar setting to the others. And then I'll do a slow pace and a fast pace and see what the results are. That's another kilo of product in here. One thing I do notice is it's considerably heavier than the other two, obviously with the power of the battery pack and the motor inside it. Let's get going. $400 grams. That was at number 6, and that wasn't even at full spin rate. Top this back up with another kilo. Time to do my fast pace. Without fertilising it, we've just weighed it. This weighs 1.5 kilos, so it is considerably heavier than the other two handhelds. Same as the other ones, the quicker you go, it's used about half the amount. Just did a little test. At number 6, it throws it further than, and obviously as you slow it down, it doesn't spin as fast, so it doesn't throw the product as far. And this little bit here, you can close that off, and it narrows the width of the spray pattern. So this is narrow pattern on full speed. And what I'll do is I'll turn it on, and I'll open this up so you can see it open up the spray pattern.
And then one more close.
One of the good things that we like about this is we've just noticed if we close this off and walk up the edge, it acts as an edge guard, so it stops throwing product where you don't want it. I think you get what you pay for out of these two. Very similar job, but this Scots feels a lot more sturdier when you're using it. This feels a little bit rickety maybe, but this one, the bonus on this one, what we've just shown you, is that this bit acts as an edge guard, which I think is a really fantastic feature for a handheld device.
Plus there's more control on it.
Yeah, exactly. There's more control on it, so you can control the speed. And also there's more options for opening, or how wide you want the opening to be. So you can have it really closed off, or you can have it opened right up. Fantastic. Next we've got this little push along, and we're showing you this over the handheld more for the fact that it can hold more product. The handheld ones, I wouldn't want to put more than a kilo in it at a time, where this, you could fit quite a few kilos in there. So if you have a bigger lawn, this might be suited to you. Right, let's see how this one goes. not walking the whole way here, just going to do a little section to show you that it doesn't throw as wide as the handheld ones do. I'm not sure how well that picked up on camera, but from when I was pushing it there, it doesn't throw the full width, but it's also more biased to throw to the left, so you're going to get more coverage to the left than you are the right. So when you're fertilising your lawn, just keep that in mind. If you're using a spinner like this, that it could be throwing more product to one side than the other. So we're on to the pro tip that 93.4% of you get wrong. So hopefully I can explain it right for you. First off, let's draw your lawn. To kick this off, we're going to show you a method that people tell you to do that is wrong, and I'm going to show you why. So when you fertilise a lawn, you'll go up and down and up and down and so on, all the way across. And then they say to go across this way, which might look right, but it actually isn't. And the reason is, if your pacing isn't correct, or if you pace too wide or too narrow, you're either going to get little squares in the middle here where fertilizer isn't going to get to, and then you're going to have like patchy lawns, or like here, if it's too close, you're going to get parts here where it might burn, or it might grow more than everywhere else. So you'd be having really patchy like growth spurts or dead patches, and then patches that aren't growing enough or just too weak. Let me show you how to do it right. When we're fertilizing lawns, we cover it at half rate, and the reason we're doing that is because we go over it twice technically. So let's see if I can explain that better for you. So when we fertilize, when we walk all the way down end to end, it is throwing here to here, and that's at half rate. So when we come back up this way, walking up, we want to walk to the line that it was thrown to. So then when it's going again, it's covering the same area again. So that's how we are covering the same area twice. Standing here and I'm walking down, I am then throwing the product to my previous feet. So we call that throwing to your feet. So where I've walked up, I've turned around, coming back down, and I'm throwing the product to my feet prints from the last time. And then it throws out this way. We walk all the way down, turn around, come back up, again, throwing the product to your feet, and then this way, which then gives you your double coverage because you're covering it coming down, and then when you're going back up, you're covering that same section again. So when we come back down this way, throwing to our feet, we cover this way. Then when we're coming back up, we cover the same area again, and then the new area, and then when we come back down finally, we're covering that area again. So that's why we call it half rate, but we're covering it double the time. The next pro tip is when we start on the lawn, we'll start in a corner, and because we have an edge guard, we can walk right across the edge here. So we'll walk along all the way around the edge here. So that will be throwing product in that way and not this way. So it will give us turning area from when we're doing our ups and downs, and it also gives us room for error if your pacing's just slightly out or if you've got slightly irregular lawns. Now, before we get into the garden fertilising, there's a couple of things I need to go over. First off, these handheld spinners, the quicker you spin the handle, the further it's going to throw the product, and the slower it's going to throw it less far. So keep that in mind when you're using these. Now, to cover a couple more techniques. The first of which is throwing it tip to tip. So when you're walking up the lawn, you're throwing the product out like so. And then when you come back down, instead of like the half rate method, you come an extra couple of steps across, you walk back down the lawn, throwing the product back out. And then again, when you go back up this way, you throw tip to tip. Now, as you can see here, if your spacing isn't right, you're going to get too much product in this area, which is either going to burn or make it grow uneven with stripes up the middle. Now, if your spacing isn't quite right going the other way, so your spacing's too far apart, you can end up with a patch in the middle which isn't getting enough fertiliser, which is going to make it weaker. The next one, let me just wipe the board for you.
Something you see this been talked about all the time online.
Yes. So this one, you weigh out the product to cover the whole area of your lawn, and you keep going until you've run out. So you'll go up, down, up, down, and so on till you get to the end, and then you're most likely going to have product left over, so you can start walking your way back. So you come back down, come back up, come back down, and then you might run out of product at that point. And if you do that, well, then you can see you've covered the lawn once and you've only made it back halfway. So half the lawn is going to be a lot greener than the other side. And the other side might be too weak as well. So you're going to get an uneven coverage across the lawn.
Third method, Jason?
The third method is applying fertiliser by hand. We just don't do that for obvious reasons.
Before I help Jason get this fertiliser onto the lawn, I'm going to say afterwards, I'm going to show you a method to dial in your application rate. Sometimes your spreader settings change, or alternatively the little gate doesn't open as much. So it's important that you know how to set your spreader without having to go through the hassle of measuring out a big area. This is just a quick cheat sheet that's really good that a lot of professionals would use. This next tip is a doozy. Real beginner one that you should all know. If you're going to fertilise your lawn, always fill the hopper or the spreader, whatever it is you're using, not on the lawn. Do it on a hard surface. Keep a brush or a blower handy, or when you're going to spray, in case you spill anything.
So when applying the fertiliser, we put a ring around the outside of the lawn, and then we apply it at half rate, going up and down, and we use posts, or if you don't have posts, you can use plant pots as markers of where you throw the product to. I've come here to find an edge where we can pace out to. As you can see, there's a bit of a gap here, a bit of irregularity with the shape of the garden, but that's why we do a ring around the edge of the garden first. So I've got the post here for our first run. Now I've got this in position, I'm going to move this post out another 2 meters for my return stride. So as you can see, I've got my post where I'm going to walk to start, and then here's my return post.
Best thing to do is to get a sprinkler and give it a watering. The sooner that you water your grass after you fertilise, the better, because it's going to help those granules get down into the lawn and it's going to prevent burn. But best of all, the fertiliser is going to work faster. That's just a quick, easy tip. So just always think, anytime you're fertilising your lawn, get the sprinkler out, give it a water. I wouldn't recommend doing it by hand because you're never going to get an even coverage. Now this question comes up all the time. How much should I water my lawn? I'm going to say it comes down to a good dose of common sense. So you want to be putting on enough water that you're going to be watering the product in. However, what I really want to stress is you don't want to overwater, that you're leaving puddles on the surface, because then you're going to get a ring of fertiliser that floats round the edge, and there's a very good chance that fertiliser will burn your lawn. So water your lawn, but don't put on too much, but don't put on too little either. Use a bit of common sense. I Go Carpet. What a catchy name. So going to say this is my new fertiliser brand. I wanted to bring out fertiliser that was going to be really easy to follow, whether you're beginner or intermediate or expert. We're just launching with 2 products, 2 easy to use products. The links are going to be down in the video description. Over the course of the year, there's going to be more products coming out. and it's going to be a nice simple plan with lots of guides. If you sign up to my newsletter, you might also get a bit of a discount. Now, I'm going to say a special thank you to Boston Seeds, who sponsor the channel. I'm hoping that in the near future, you'll also be able to buy grass seed directly from me if you're in Northern Ireland, because I know that's been a bit of an issue for some people. So let's go and find out about how to dial in that fertiliser. You might be wondering what I'm doing with a bit of cardboard, having a bit of a feel. For my tip on how to dial in your fertiliser, that could be key, depending on the size of lawn and space you're working with. If it's a small space and you don't have anywhere to test, well, then you're going to want to cover the grass. So put down a bit of cardboard or plastic or whatever you've got to hand. Weigh out your spinner, put your product in, mark out a metre square and put out your fertiliser, and then weigh what you've got left. Do that 3 or 4 times and you'll have a really good idea, because sometimes whenever you get a new batch of fertiliser, it's a different size than it was before. So that's just a good wee pro tip for anyone that wants to dial it in. Now for us, we'd typically go into the field there and mark out like 50 square metres and do it a couple of times with a new batch of fertiliser. So it just depends on what you're working with. Now, don't forget, sign up to the newsletter for those exclusive discounts on the iGrow Carpet Fertiliser. I'll see you in the next video.